In your business, every second counts. When it comes to creating content, it's no use if that content doesn't serve a purpose in your business. Much better to create what I call content with intent. Content that actually drives a conversion rather than just for the sake of it. Don't busy yourself creating social posts that lead nowhere. Focus instead on creating conversion-driven content. And there is a very definite method, a very distinct and unique framework that I've created that will allow you to do just this. Don't just create content for the sake of creating content. Create content with intent. Content that actually drives the conversion, that actually leads a prospect towards buying your products or services. This is the secret to a winning content strategy. The framework that I've created is really simple to follow. It gives you a dedicated plan that you can just walk through step by step by step. This way, everything that you put out into the world not only serves your audience, but at the same time, it leads them towards making the purchase of your products and services. So your conversion rates are going to go up. Your engagement rates are going to go up. Everything that you're sharing and creating is related to the product or service that you offer. It's a really simple but massively powerful framework. That's what I'm about to share with you today. There are two types of content in content marketing. The first type is engagement content, and the second is conversion content. Engagement content really is what it says. It's content that is meant to drive engagement, to get people involved, to get people to interact with what it is that you're putting out into the world. So think of provoking questions, of polls or quizzes, or things that just elicit a response. So they may use tactics like creating an open loop. Oh, I hate this. A pattern interrupt. Something that people don't expect, to leave them feeling like they have to fill a gap or they have to respond. It's awkward, isn't it? We are called in our psychology to fill awkward silences. So you're using that same psychology in your engagement content. You're creating pieces that will evoke and provoke a response from your audience. Use things like questions, quotes, prompts, polls, quizzes. All these kinds of things are really powerful for engagement content. Now, engagement content sits as what I call background music in your content calendar. So background music basically is when you create the ambience inside of a restaurant and they have that beautiful music playing in the background that creates this nice atmosphere, right? If we turn the music off, silence. Sounds totally different. The ambient music creates the atmosphere inside of a restaurant. And in much the same way, the ambient engagement posts create that same atmosphere for your prospects, for people inside of your world that are not yet ready to make a sale. So the ambient music just fills that space and it just creates that consistency of you showing up in their feed, in their emails inbox, and just showing that level of dripped out, consistent. So think of the engagement posts as your in the moment, topical, hey, did you see that thing, or this is happening, or that new technology that's just come about, or something that's relevant, things that are in the moment, things that are happening to you. And so you're sharing engagement content to just create the bedrock of communication that's going out on a regular basis to create that constant drip, so that you're constantly there. You're showing up in people's feeds. You're staying in marketing what we call top of mind. That's engagement content. Conversion content is very different. Conversion content is designed specifically to lead to a conversion. So it's designed to create a movement in somebody towards making a purchase. towards buying your product or service. And so from that perspective, it's evergreen in that it will work equally well for person A coming through your funnel today as it will for person B coming through your funnel tomorrow. The process is universal. It's based on the buying decision process, the model of which we all go through whenever we make a purchase decision. And it's a framework that I've developed that allows you to craft content with intent that guides people towards conversion. So it's very much conversion focused content. Super simple, super powerful. Content with intent is always moving prospects towards the sale. And it begins by asking perhaps the most important question that you can ever ask in your marketing. And that is, what do prospects need to believe in order to make a purchase? What things need to be in place in their mind? Because it's their decision, remember, not yours. What things need to be in place in order for them to be at that point where they are credit card in hand, ready to purchase your course, your coaching, your products, your services. This is a concept called the chain of beliefs. And there are a series of things that come up in the purchase decision that need to be ticked off, right? We need to know that you can help us to get where we want to go. We need to know that you can solve our problem. We need to know that you are the right person to do that. We need to know that you understand us. We need to know that you understand our problem, that you're the right person to take us to that place that we want to get to, that you've been there, that you know what it's like to be us, that you've experienced the same thing as us, that there's an affinity between us, that you've got the credibility, that you've done your 10,000 hours, you know what you're talking about. You are the person we need to speak to. We've all heard the phrase content marketing. And content marketing, in its simplest form, is really about creating valuable content that leads your audience, your ideal clients, to want to work with you, right? There's a profitability goal in the whole process. You create content that helps people, and in helping people, it leads them towards buying your products or services. That's the goal of content creation, to make people aware of you, to know that you exist, and for you to be what we call in marketing, top of mind when they are making a decision to purchase. That's essentially content marketing. Most entrepreneurs, when they approach content marketing, they just create value and content, right? Lots of it at scale, and busy work, spending their time inside of social media, not necessarily leading to the outcome for which content marketing was created in the first place. And that is the profitable outcome of leading somebody towards a sale. And so if we think about that part of the process, leading somebody towards a sale, this is what brings us to the point of what I call creating content with intent. And this is content marketing at its very core, but it is the essence of what content marketing is all about. So when you create content with intent, it's content that is designed to reach and achieve a very specific outcome. And that outcome, as a business owner, as a coach, as an entrepreneur, as a creator, looking to sell products, services, coaching, is to do just that, to convert people along that pathway to actually buying those things from you, right? Actually buying your products, your services, and what it is that you do. Whether it's courses, coaching, memberships, really doesn't matter. The goal in what you create and put out into the world has to be focused on moving people along in that decision-making process. This is what so many people miss, and this is why the content with intent approach is so valuable. When it comes to creating content, there are two categories, broadly speaking, that you create the content in. The first is engagement content, and the second is conversion content. And they both coexist, and there's an argument for both, and there's a need for both, okay? They serve a very definite purpose. Your engagement content is stuff that drives engagement in your world with your audience. So you might ask a thought-provoking question, commentate on something that's happening in the world, share a story that's going on in your life right now. This is engagement content. This is what I like to call background music in your marketing, in your content plan. So this is the ongoing, topical things that are happening stuff. And if you think about going into a restaurant, you go into a restaurant and the mood of the entire restaurant is created by the ambient music that plays in the background. So my wife and I, when we have date night, we'll cook a nice meal and we'll sit and we'll eat, we'll put a candle on, we'll eat together, have a glass of wine, and we will play music depending on the type of food that we're eating, right? So if we're eating Chinese food, we'll play some traditional Chinese background music. If we're eating Italian, we play some traditional Italian music, volare, right? And the music sets the tone and the emotion, and it creates this undercurrent, this energy, this vibe of what that experience is all about, okay? So think about that ambient music as your engagement content. Your engagement content creates that ambience, creates that feeling in your clients. Not only that, it gives you an opportunity to have many more touch points with your client because you're able to just drip content out. Hey, I seen this today and it made me think of that. Hey, I've just experienced this. And these are like the consistent, like regular content pieces that you can put out into the world with very little effort because you're just literally commentating, sharing the things that are happening to you in the moment as you walk through every single day. That's engagement content. And that serves that background music purpose, but it doesn't necessarily lead to a sale. And there's a really important difference there. I've lost count of the number of entrepreneurs I've coached who have come to me sharing that their busyness on social media, the busyness with which they create content, and the lack of results they get from their efforts. It's like hair pulling outly frustrating, right? And there's no wonder if you think about it, because it's just the background music. It's not actually leading people to anywhere. It's not leading to the sale. And this is where content with intent will change the game of content marketing. So conversion-focused content is explicitly leading somebody towards making a purchase, right? Converting them from one phase to the next. What are the phases? So the phases are what's called the buying decision process. When any of us buy anything, there is a very definite process that's been researched that outlines the steps that we take in order to make a purchase decision. And so when I created the content with intent framework, it comes from a place of understanding those mechanisms and those processes that happen in a buying decision journey, and then building a framework around that so that you can create content with intent that serves the purpose of facilitating that journey, of making that purchase decision an inevitability. It really is that powerful. I can't tell you how important it is that you understand the most important question in marketing. And that is, what do my prospects need to believe in order to make a purchase? What does their state of mind need to be? What does their world need to look like? What does it need to feel like? And what does it need to sound like? What needs to be happening in their situation, their circumstance, in order for them to be an ideal candidate of yours? And this is where very basic marketing 101 stuff comes into its own. Who is your ideal client? Who are they? What does their life look, sound, and feel like? And how do you come in and transform their lives? And at what point? So understanding that point, their point of entry with which they embark on a journey of discovery with you. If you know and really clearly know what those thought processes, what those beliefs, what those attitudes and situational factors look like, then it becomes a really simple matter of creating content that satisfies those criteria, right? So it begins from a very simple understanding of the buyer decision process. The buying decision process is a model that describes the thoughts and the actions that people go through when they're making a purchase decision. It's a really simple framework that follows a series of steps. There are 5 main stages to the buy-in decision process. The first is problem recognition. We become aware that we have a problem. So I'm driving through the town in my car, listening to the radio, thinking about my destination and enjoying the journey, right? All of a sudden, bang, tire blows out. So I pull into the side of the road. Now I have awareness of a problem, a need that I need to solve with my car, right? Before that bang, I wasn't aware. I was completely unaware. And here is a thing that I see so many times. People create content that's valuable, of course it is, but they're putting it in front of people who are driving along, listening to the radio, completely oblivious to your message, not even in the mind to have an ear to listen, because they're completely oblivious, they're not aware of the problem, right? So don't create content for those people that are not aware of the problem. Try to educate them. Hey, look, if you use my service, you can this, and hey, you can do this, and hey, it will do that. And I'm frustrated now because I know how much my thing will help you, but they just don't care, right? People don't care. It's because you're speaking to the wrong category of people. It's much easier and much better, much more profitable for you to speak to people who are actually aware of the problem and aware of what it is that you do. They're aware of the need for something. They've got the busted tire. So it may be that their relationship's broken down. It may be that they've been filed for divorce. It may be that they've just left their job, or they've been made redundant, or there's been a death, or there's been an illness, or something has happened to trigger that awareness level. It's not your job to trigger and create awareness. Now, this is where there's confusion in the world of marketing, right? Oh, we've got to create awareness. We've got to help support the decision. We've got to create that awareness content. It doesn't mean awareness of the problem. It means awareness that you exist. So when my tire went bang, now I go into the process. I'm aware that I have a problem. Now I need to be aware of which solutions exist. So I will look into the market to see who's there and begin that journey of the decision process further, right? I'll take the next steps in the process. It's at that point that you need to have content that is going to drive awareness. Because if I can't see you, if you're not visible to me, then I'm never going to consider you as one of the options for my purchase. Okay, does that make sense? Because it's really critical you understand that difference. You are creating content for those that are problem aware, ultimately. So once we become problem aware, we begin an information search. We start to look out into the world at possible solutions. It happens in 2 phases. There's an internal search. We scan our memory, we scan our experiences and the things that we've done previously to cope in situations like this. And we think, okay, so we need to do this, we need to do that. And then we have an external search for information. We might look on Google, we might ask a friend, we might ask an expert. And all of these processes form the actual seeking out of information to help us understand and have enough information in front of us so that we can begin the next part of the process. Once we've searched for information and we've gathered enough knowledge and we know enough about the situation, we then begin to perform an evaluation. So we start to evaluate alternatives and we go through a process of, we can do this, we could do that, I could do this, I could take that action, I could buy this, I could go down this road. And we start to weigh up the pros and the cons of different alternatives to solving the problem. This evaluation phase is really helpful for you to understand what are the alternatives that they can choose. At the evaluation phase, it's really helpful to have content that helps people in the process, right? So if we take people who are evaluating alternatives, then let's look at the options in your field. So I am a coach who coaches people on marketing, and people have an issue with their marketing of their business. Usually it's not a marketing issue. Usually it's a leads issue or a sales issue or a profits issue. There's something happening that's causing that issue and causing that problem awareness, right? And when they evaluate alternatives, they could go and hire an agency, they could buy a course on marketing, they could go and put some money into advertising, they could get a new website. All of these are alternative options when it comes to fixing the problem inside of their business. Maybe it's a cash flow problem, maybe it's a time freedom problem, and maybe they want to have less time in their business and less time doing all of this social media content creation, right? And so it's simple and straightforward evaluation of what the alternatives are. If you understand what those alternatives are, then you are better poised to position your solution in that mix. Ask yourself, what are some of the ways that your ideal clients could spend their money alternatively to buying your products or services? And I invite you to think much wider than just your pool of competitors. So they buy your course X or course Y. Think bigger than that. They renovate their house, they take a vacation, they buy a new car, and these are just random ideas, right? But just think about how you can expand your thinking to get a more holistic picture of who your ideal client is and the thought processes that go on. And if you're getting a little stuck, use yourself as an example, because you are no different to your ideal client in that sense. The processes and thoughts that you go through in making a purchase decision are no different. You understand it from the inside out because you've done it yourself so many times, okay? So use that as an example if you're getting stuck on where and how to interpret this stuff that we're talking about now. Once we've evaluated alternatives, the next step is to actually make a decision. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. And if you think about it, it's at that point where that question comes into place, right? What needs to have happened to get somebody to that place? What needs to happen in those steps previously? And what content could I create that's going to support those steps? That's exactly the framework that I've created. That's exactly what content with intent and this structure is. It supports the process of making the purchase decision. The fifth and final step in the buying decision process is the post-purchase evaluation. And this is where we essentially go through a psychological process of evaluating whether we've made the right choice. Immediately after the purchase, there's a phenomenon called cognitive dissonance, or buyer's remorse, you may have heard it called. And essentially it's the, oh, have I made the right choice? Did we do the right thing? Oh, and there's this weight in the stomach, especially for a high involvement purchase, for something where there's a lot of emotion involved. Then cognitive dissonance plays a huge part. And so interestingly, when we talk about creating content with intent that helps people and supports them in the decision, you're actually reducing the cognitive dissonance, reducing buyer's remorse in advance. So you're dealing and speaking to that before they make the decision. When somebody is at the point of saying, here's my money, take my money, I want this program, I want this course, I want this coaching, this is the thing that's right for me. When they're at that point, there is a factor that can cause them to tip backwards and fall away and choose something different and completely alter their evaluation in the process. And it is the cognitive dissonance element. It's the, oh, is this the right decision? So there's a dither, right? There's a hesitancy at the point of purchase. And that is where an understanding of the process people go through after they've made a purchase can help you hugely. So in the world of online marketing, you'll see things like case studies, success stories. You'll see testimonials from people that have been through and are on the other side of that decision and how wonderful a life has been for those people. There's a great example of negating buyer's remorse up front before the purchase decision has been made. You'll see things like risk reversals. So there's a money back guarantee. And if this doesn't work for you, I will give you your money back and more, right? And so there are all manner of mechanisms that you can use to intentionally reduce cognitive dissonance. So the buying decision process varies depending on the product, service, and usually the amount of effort and energy that we put in is very much related to the value of what we're spending. So we take much more care over buying a new car than we would a can of beans. So we would put more of ourselves into that decision because it means so much more to us. And this is important to consider because that has an impact on the level of products and services that you're offering as well. And then the final thing is environmental factors. So there are social influences, there are emotions that come into play in the decision, and this one's emotion is huge, right? And there are influential factors that happen on the outside, like circumstances, our family situation, our work situation, our economic situation. All of these things play a part in the process. The process is the process is the process. And then these things are influencing factors that impact on that process. And so your goal in this is to just understand the process, be aware of the phases, and then ask yourself the question, what content can I create that supports my prospects in this process? That in essence is what forms the chain of beliefs. These are the steps that people need to take in order to be at that decision-making place where they are waving their credit cards, ready to buy what it is that you do, because they need it. They know that your solution is the best solution to their problem. And that's the goal of all of the content you create. So the content with intent framework is built on buying decision process theory and those mechanisms and processes and thoughts that happen along that journey. What I've done is I've created a series of categories that allow you to create content that fulfills that journey and that matches that journey that your ideal prospects go on in becoming a client of yours, right? So it's content with intent. It's always driving the sale because it's related to the transformation that you deliver in your services. It's a magical thing. It's really, really powerful. The categories are busting a myth. They are essentially reframing the way that people think, the way that people believe what it is that you can do can help them. And there are many, I'm going to go into detail on all of these, right? Essentially busting a myth, sharing your origin story. This is the connectedness with you. This is the creating that emotional connection to what it is that you do specifically, as opposed to what your competitors do. Creating that connection can be the difference between the choice of you, the choice of an alternative. Show me is essentially that, right? Show me what my life will be like after I've made the choice to work with you. Show me what that looks like so I can see. Our brains work in pictures. So if I ask you to close your eyes right now, let's do it. Close your eyes right now. Think about opening your fridge, okay? Which hand are you reaching out with? And which way does the door open? I'm doing this because mine has two doors, right? I could do this, or I could do this, or I could do this. But I'm thinking about it, and I'm seeing me opening that fridge in my mind, okay? And you're doing the same. So your brain works in that way. If we can give your brain a picture, then it latches onto that, and when we see something, we can realize it, we can visualize it, we can achieve it, right? And so what you have to do is you have to give those same pictures to your ideal clients, because they might know you, but they've never worked with you. They don't know what it's going to be like at the end of that journey. You're the person that's guiding them there through what it is that you do. Therefore, it makes great sense for you to paint that picture for them. Show them what success looks like. Hey, here's Jane. Jane was in this place of pain, just like you. And now, after going through my process, she's living this dream life. She's living this paradise state. And here's what her life looks like. That's how you can show people what the transformation will feel like, what it will sound like, and what it will look like to them once they've experienced it. Next is process. And process really is the steps that you take people along to transform their lives. I use an exercise called prison to paradise, where you take the prison state that your ideal client is in at the beginning, when they first realize they've got the problem, and you contrast that with the antithesis of prison, which is the paradise state, where they are after they've experienced your magic, your wonder, and your coaching, your program, your course, your book, whatever it is that you do to change their lives. After they've received that, there's a gap, right? So we've got state A and state B. How do we get to state B? How do we get to the paradise state? This is the prison to paradise process. These are the steps that you would go through. Okay, let's stop for a second. Let's take a breath. let's bring ourselves to center. Now let's look at the situation. Tell me what led you to that situation. Okay, so we do an assessment. Now we begin to evaluate. And then once we've evaluated, we look at alternatives and ways that we can circumvent, ways that we can navigate around this. Once we've done that, we can then start to introduce new thoughts, new concepts, new processes, new practices that are going to prevent this thing from happening again and lead us to this place of bliss. Now that's just a really simple made-up example of a process that you can follow, a prison to paradise process that could take somebody from a state of anxiety and fear to a state of joy, calm, bliss. Those steps that I've just outlined, off the top of my head, right? Those steps that I've just outlined give you a very definite process. That could be a coaching process, a coaching program, a course. It could be a lead magnet that you lead somebody along to get them to that place of realizing that they can experience more of this inside of your coaching program. So that prison to paradise process is so important, and you understanding what those steps and those processes are essentially gives you fuel for content, because you can talk about what it looks like to take that breath. You can talk about what it looks like to evaluate alternatives, to reflect on what's led you to where you are right now, to consider different ways that you can change for the better, okay? Habits that you can introduce to make sure this never happens again. Each one of those steps can be a massively valuable source of content. And if you think about it, your program, your coaching, your courses, your service, whatever it is that you do, delivers transformation and solves a problem. So all you are doing in the process section of Content with Intent is you are breaking down those steps and you are creating content around those very specific steps. It's so powerful because you're delivering in part what your paid services deliver in full. Can you see that? Wow, that gets me so excited, because you're able to break away parts of your entire process and give people a taste of that so that they are then led towards the paid service. This is why I get so excited about Content with Intent, because it really is a game changer. It really is so powerful. And then we have CTA, call to action. This is where we ask. So again, I've lost count of the amount of people that I see that are busy on content creation or busy on social media, and they never ask. Oh, I'm doing all of this stuff, I'm doing all of this content, and nobody's buying my course, right? Have you asked people to buy your course? No. So it really is critical that you include in that process the ask, not just for the sale, the ask for the download of a lead magnet, the attendance of a webinar, the participation in your mastermind program. You've got to ask people. And yes, marketers are real hung up on CTAs, calls to action. And so it's like, oh, every post must have a CTA. Not necessarily. Every post must have intention. Every post must have a definite purpose in leading people towards that purchase decision, remember? So I'm busting a myth now. Can you see what I'm doing? But you don't need a CTA in every post in that sense, right? You need CTA posts. You need, hey, 2 slots have just opened up in my coaching before the end of the month. If you're interested and you're in a place where you know you need to make change X in your life, hit this button to apply. There's a CTA post. There's something that out and out asks for the sale. Hey, I've just launched a new blog post and it's literally going to change the game on how you create content. Go check it out. So this framework really does allow you to create a very comprehensive content strategy. You can also take this framework and you can turn it on its side and it becomes a email welcome sequence. So I use the same psychology in all of the marketing elements that I create. And if you think about this as an email nurture sequence, we can bust a myth. We can share our backstory to create connection. We can show them what life would be like after they've worked with us. We can talk about our process and how our process is the best way to get them to that outcome and deliver that for them. And then we can ask them if they want to take part, if they want to apply, if they want to have that journey for themselves. This is a beautiful process that is almost universal, whether you are creating blog content, creating video content, posting on social media, writing email sequences. It's a framework that is universal, just as the buying decision process is universal. We all go through this process. And so using my content with intent framework, you are able to create massively high converting content in all of the channels with which you are marketing your business. Bust a myth type content really is just that. It's taking the way that people think, the way that people believe currently, and it's reframing it. It's enlightening them to think a little differently. It's challenging people to reevaluate the way that they view something. Bust a myth content is massively powerful because there's a great saying, right? You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. The same is true when you are trying to convert your audience into paying clients. It's not your decision to make, it's theirs. So whilst you can lead them to the water, they have to make that decision to say, hey, I want to buy what it is that you do. And so bust a myth content is really powerful because it's something that evokes a change in them. When you can evoke a change inside of a person, that is so much more powerful than you trying to exert a change, than you trying to like grab them by the arm and lead them towards the water, right? Hey, come on, come on, come on, come on. And you can do that with a horse, but you can't make it drink, right? You can't make it put its head down and drink from the trough. Same is true with purchase decisions. Selling is the equivalent of going, hey, like forcing their head down to the water. Selling is the equivalent of that. It doesn't work. They have to be driven to make that choice. I want some water. I'm going to drink some water. I need this product or service. This product or service is the best way for me to achieve X in my life. Can you see the difference? This is why this framework is so powerful. And so busting myths triggers that process of me now considering you as the person best positioned to help me, best suited to solving the problem that I've got. And there are a whole swathe of things that you could think about in here when it comes to busting a myth. What I would encourage you to do is to look at some of the examples that I share and create your own list. Create the list of questions that people ask. Create a list of things that people are skeptical about. Create a list of things that people go, nah, that's not real. Create a list of things that people don't believe. Create a list of things that people do believe, and then look at how you can challenge those things, how you can go against the grain, how you can swim against the tide, right? How you can share content that causes people just to go, ah. And it's in that light bulb, that aha moment, that you instill that change in somebody, that they all of a sudden go, oh, I never realized that. Oh, so actually these emotions I'm feeling, I always just think I'm broken, right? I think I'm at fault. Everybody else is doing fine. I'm wrong here. I'm broken. I'm not working right because I feel this way. But you're telling me I'm not broken because of this? Oh, yeah, I can see that. I can see that. So what these pieces of content do, they deliver a really powerful little piece of your transformation. They give people that sense of hope. They instill in people that sense of optimism, that things can be okay, that there is a solution to their problem, that they're going to be okay. And in sharing this content, you do two things. You help the person, which is why we exist, which is why we do what we do. It's why I'm creating this course right now, to help you, not just to help you, but to help you help the people that need your help. It helps us to help people, but also it positions you as the go-to person, as the ideal solution to their problem. So now, having helped me, I want to know more about how you can help me further. Can you see that? So when you deliver that transformation in part, then that person is much more likely to feel that connection with you and to want to understand how they can explore that help even further. So you are leading them along the path. You're not actually, no, let's scratch that. You're not leading them. They are walking the path themselves. You are just guiding them along the way. Hey, maybe we could go that way. Okay, yeah, that way feels right to me. I'm going to take the steps. They're in the driving seat, they're in control. This is why it works much better than any of those horrible, icky, salesy type tactics, because they're not led with the person in mind. They're led with that other person in mind. I want to get the sale. I want to make money. I want to get the profits. The way that we're talking about is imbued with integrity, because it is all about that person being in the driving seat and us putting in front of them what we genuinely believe will help them on their journey. Origin story content is your opportunity to really create an emotional connection. Origin story is especially powerful in high involvement purchases where the decision is a big one. We're investing a lot of money. We are really going to invest the time to make sure that we choose wisely how and where we spend that money. This is especially so in things like coaching and service-driven businesses, where we're delivering a very personal, very transformational process. And it's important to remember that people buy from people that they know, like, and trust. And so the origin story really is the opportunity that you have to create that emotional connection. And you create the emotional connection by telling stories. So if I tell you a story about when I was on the market stall with my dad in Liverpool at aged 8, and it was freezing cold, pitch black, because we were there at 5 a.m. to set the market stall up, right? And I was dancing on the tarmac because I couldn't feel my toes. It was raining, my fingers were tingling with the cold. I could smell bacon coming from the catering stall down the way, and I could smell this, like, oh, I really need a hot cup of tea and a bacon roll right now. I'm a vegetarian now. At the time I wasn't, right? But that sense of the smell, the flavor, I'm reliving that moment from being an 8-year-old lad. And just by sharing that story, then it does something interesting in the reader, the listener, the person that hears the story. Story just evokes emotion, it evokes thought, and it evokes this sense of feeling and experiencing something without actually experiencing it, right? Without actually having to experience it ourselves. And it's massively powerful. That's why the Hollywood film industry exists in the way that it does. That's why fiction writing is such a giant industry, because we all love and feel a great affinity with story. We get to feel and experience experiences that we wouldn't ordinarily do. And so story plays a massive role in creating that emotional connection with your reader, with your audience. And so you sharing your story, like I've just done with that little example on the market stalls, is a way of creating that affinity, that connection, that emotional bond with your prospects. There are many ways and formats and vehicles for sharing your story, but in essence what you're doing is you are literally laying bare your experience in a way that serves and benefits others. So I've gone through this process of confusion, of not understanding, of feeling frustrated as hell because things aren't working. And I've batted down every door of a possible solution and found nothing but dead ends along the way. And so in sharing this journey, this process, you can literally explain away the struggle that your target audience is in right now. Can you see how there's a link there? So by you sharing your experiences, you act as a mirror for your target audience. They see themselves in your experience, and then that's what creates that magic affinity. That's what creates that sense of, this girl really gets me. This guy really knows how I feel. This person really understands what it's like to be me, because they are me. They have been me. They have been in the same place that I'm in right now. And that's the goal of the origin story category, is that you create this affinity, this bond, this relationship with people on an emotional level. Origin story content can be as simple as you sharing your journey candidly as it's relevant to your ideal clients. So understanding where they're coming from, the problems that they've got, and how your journey can be used as a reflection and a lesson in theirs. It's as simple as that. Any story, any experience can be used as a teaching aid, as an ability for you to share your wisdom, your understanding, your knowledge in the field that you help people with. So you can apply things that are going on in your life. You can apply things that you've experienced on your journey and your road to becoming the person that you are today. And remember, the best thing that you can do in this life is to become the truest expression of self. And so this really is an exercise in you expressing yourself. You being you, unashamedly, unapologetically, and being that unique lens through which you see the world. Just being the voice for that. Being you is your goal in this life, and your goal in the origin story content is just to share what that's like to be you. And in doing that, people see themselves in it. People see themselves reflected in you, because we're all connected. We're all the same. The other thing that the origin story does is it acts as what I call a rally cry. I'm a great movie buff, right? And I love the film Braveheart with Mel Gibson. And in the film, Mel Gibson is William Wallace, the Scottish rebel that's fighting against the oppression of the English who were invading their land. And William Wallace is sat on the top of this hill with this rabble of Scots facing this very organised, very big English army. And the Scots are a little bit scared, a little bit like nervous. And there's confusion and people are struggling, and William Wallace comes along and he's got the blue face paint on, and he's like marching up and down the ranks going, they may take our lives, they may take our wives, they may take our homes, but they'll never take our freedom. And he puts his arm in the air, and by this point the troops are like, yay! They're feeling the emotion of the moment. They're feeling this sense of, we're fighting for something bigger than ourselves here. We are doing something that matters. We are doing something that's like amazing, and we are here to the death, right? This is the rally cry. This is the thing. And then at the end of this scene, they're all like lifting their kilts up, mooning the English, full of like the vigor, ready to go into battle with William Wallace. Your origin story content serves that same purpose. It acts as this rally cry that gives people this hope, this sense of something bigger than them, and this sense that they can go and change the world through you, through your process, through your service, through your coaching, through your program, through your products, whatever it is that you do, that this is the pathway for them. Your origin stories really are meant to evoke that level of emotion, that level of excitement, that level of optimism and hope and joy in your prospects. Show me content really is just that. It's show me what my life will be like after I've worked with you, after I've been through your course, after I've been on your coaching program. Show me what my life will be like. Don't just tell me, show me. So give me the pictures. Allow me to see in others what things could be in store for me, what things could be like for me. Show me content really paints the picture of that paradise state of being after somebody has been through your product or service. And this is where it's not enough just to say, hey, you'll have this, you'll be that, you'll experience this. You really need to demonstrate it in a very real way. The best way to do this, and the most obvious, is to utilize success stories, people that have been through your process, people that have been through your coaching program and come out the other side, using these people as case studies, as examples of how life can transform. Hey, this is Jane. Jane was really struggling with X. We walked through step 1, step 2, step 3. Now Jane is in this place of paradise, and look at her now. Look at her life now. This is how she is living. This is how you too can live. And so the case studies, the testimonials, yes, they serve as what's called credibility factors, as, oh, this guy's done this type of thing before. This girl knows what she's talking about. This person can help me in the way that I need help. It goes a step further because it actually shows you what your life could be like as a result of taking that step of saying, yes, I want to work with you. Yes, I want to buy this program. Yes, I want this course. This is the thing for me. And remember, our goal in all of this is leading people to that place where they're going, yes, this is the right solution for me. This is the thing that is going to deliver X. Well, what is X? Let's show people X. How can you best showcase that to prospects? So how can you demonstrate and prove these claims that you're making? Because it's not enough for you to say, hey, come on my coaching program, I can get you this. That's not enough. That won't get people to purchase. That won't get people to come on your coaching program. What you need to be able to do is to showcase and show them that success, because it does two things. It gives you credibility because you've already delivered success, and it allows them to paint a picture of themselves in the future and see that reality for themselves. Because remember, our brains think in pictures. It allows them to see those pictures and see themselves in those pictures, which reaffirms the decision to buy your coaching program. It's critical. Social proof, testimonials, case studies. There are a plethora of ways that you can show them what success will look like after they've been through your program, after they've bought your product or service. Now you may say, Colin, I'm just starting out. I don't have success stories. I don't have client testimonials. I don't have people that I've worked with. That's not uncommon. And there are two things that I'm going to share with you that you can utilize in that scenario. The first one is to use the concept of borrowed proof. So you can borrow credibility from experts in your field. My process takes you on this journey of 1, 2, 3. Okay. This is my process. I've not done it with anybody before. I don't have somebody who's gotten to that point and can tell me about it. But this expert, this eminent psychologist, this person that everybody knows in the world says that if you do 1, 2, and 3, it can be helpful, right? Taking this journey can be useful. Utilizing that person on your sales page, in your content, is the concept of borrowed proof. You're borrowing the credibility from people that already have credibility. So that's one way that you can tackle this. You can use the expertise and the influence of others in your content. So you can bring in quotes, you can bring in concepts that others have shared and utilize those to add your own value. Such and such says this, such and such says that. If we put them two things together, we have this, which is my unique approach. It's based on that. So you're kind of showing how your unique way can help them in a different perspective, right? Not from an out and out, here's client X who achieved solution Y, right? It's a little bit of a different way to do it. Concept of borrowed proof. How can you leverage the work of other people that your prospects will know to borrow that proof, that credibility factor for you, for your services? Can be quotes, can be just utilizing things that they've said that are similar to the outcomes that you deliver. Hey, getting a coach was the best decision I ever made, said Franklin D. Roosevelt. And that's on your website. It's like that reinforces the decision to get a coach, right? Silly example. Franklin D. Roosevelt never said that. I'm just trying to paint a picture for you so that you can see some possibilities of how you might use the concept of borrowed proof. The second is for you to go out and create success stories. You've got a will and a drive to change the world, to change people's lives. Well, my invitation to you is go out there and change people's lives. Find some people that match the criteria of your ideal client and actually change their lives. Work with them for free or for cheap in exchange for a case study, a success story. Hey, I want to put you through my program on a scholarship so that you get it for X or reduced to X or for free or whatever feels right for you. But the goal of this is, look, in return, I want to be able to shout about your success from the rooftops. I want to be able to use you as a showcase so that I can show that success to potential future clients. And that's a great way to overcome the I don't have success stories problem. Unique process is the way in which you deliver your results. It's the process that you take people on in the journey of transformation. It's the how you get the results. It's the what you do with them. And it's the steps that you take along the way from prison to paradise. So if you imagine your ideal client in the prison state of frustration, of pain, of anxiety, of fear, of whatever it is that's driving them to find a solution to a problem, and then you contrast that with the paradise state of where they are after they've been through your coaching program. They've watched your course and applied all of the principles in it. Where are they then in that paradise state? It's the polar opposite. It's the antithesis of prison. It's the paradise state of euphoria, of joy, of bliss, of calm, of confidence, of clarity, of all of the things that bring with it your process, your service. The way that you deliver this is the thing that drives them to results, right? It's that process that drives the results. So what is that process for you? What are the steps that you would take somebody on to get them from here to here, from prison to paradise? There will be a series of steps. When I was doing a lot of work as a marketing consultant, my prison to paradise steps were really simple. There were 3 of them. Where are you right now? Let's do an assessment of this organization, of this brand, of this business. Where do you want to be? So we contrast where they are now with where they want to be, with the ideal state, okay? And then we ask the third question of, what do we need to do to get there? This was my overarching process in consulting for different brands, different businesses. And so it was a very simple framework through which there are a lot of nuances, a lot of detail, but this was the overarching framework with which I followed. Every single client would follow that path. Where are you now? Let's have a look around. Let's do an environmental scan, a competitor analysis, a pest analysis, SWOT analysis. Let's see what's going on in the business. Let's do some stakeholder research and evaluation. Then we paint a picture of where we want to get to. So where do you want to be? This involves objectives, goal setting, mission, purpose, the things that drive you as an organization, as individuals, as leaders. What's the outcome look like? What does success look like? Let's define it. Let's set some goals. Let's set some objectives. Let's set some metrics that we can measure over time to know that we've arrived, right? And then what's the best way to achieve those things? Well, okay, now we get into the nitty-gritty of, we need to outline the steps. We need to create content with intent. We need to understand our avatar. We need to create content with intent in these categories. We need to create a schedule, a plan, a calendar of how that content's going to be implemented. Who's going to be responsible for it? How are we going to do it? Who's going to do it? What are we going to create? And all of these things need to work their way into an actual actionable plan. So there you can see a real picture of prison to paradise, the steps that happen in the middle of how that becomes the process. When it comes to creating process-driven content, then it's really a case of explaining that approach, explaining how that is unique, explaining the steps of each of that, so we could take the constituent parts, break them down, talk about those in content. So we can talk about how it's best not to play with marketing tactics, but to first look at where you are right now, because in understanding where you are in the pathway right now, you can make the best decision as to how you're going to get where you want to go. See? Or take the vision of where you want to be, the middle step. What's the point in driving tactics now? What's the point in getting busy on social media, creating content, if you don't know to what end, to what goal? What's the point of this, you watching this course, if it's not for a reason, if it's not for you to be able to go and change people's lives, if you don't know what that is, there's work to be done there before you get to it. So there's content that could be created around that middle step of the importance of vision, the importance of outcomes, the importance of objectives, the importance of setting goals, the importance of prioritizing what you're going to work on and when. And so all of these are potential content. I need to write these down in my content plan, right? All of these are potential content ideas that you can take from the process that you go through. So my invitation to you is to first outline those steps, that process. An ideal client is in front of you right now. What do you do? Okay, first I get them to do this, then I will get them to do that, then I will walk through this, then we will walk through that. And you've got a list, you've got your process list. Then the next part of that is, how can you create content that speaks to each of those parts of the process? That's your process-driven content. Unique process content is so powerful because not only does it help you to articulate the way that you solve a problem that is unique to other people, it also is another place where they can create that connection with you. It's another place where they can see your unique perspective on how to solve the problem. And that is another opportunity for you to create that affinity that we've already spoken about, to create that emotional connection with you. And ultimately, it leads them to that place of, this person knows who I am, this person understands me, this person has the best solution to my problem. Here's my credit card. Okay? So in a very authentic, genuine, compassionate way, you are simply sharing your solution to the problem in a way that allows people to see your solution and then imagine and envisage what that solution means for them. And so that in itself, in the process of that, leads that person towards making the decision to work with you. Such a powerful concept, and so powerful in practice. Call to action content is exactly that. It's content that has a direct call to action. Now, I'm not talking about content with call to actions at the end. I'm talking about very specific asks for the sale, very specific asks for the prospect to take the next step, for them to book a consultation call with you, for them to apply to be part of your paid community, for them to apply to be on your coaching program, for them to actually take the steps. Often you see marketers and content creators creating this plethora of content that delivers a massive amount of value, but it doesn't drive anywhere because they don't ask for it to drive anywhere. And so I'm talking about content that invites somebody to join your free 7-day goal setting challenge, that invites somebody to download your lead magnet, which then has an email sequence that follows that asks for the sale, right? To ask for the sale itself, hey, I've got 4 slots in my coaching program and I'm looking to fill them at a 25% discount in the next 7 days. If it sounds like you and you want to achieve X and you're ready to do that, hit the button and apply for a chat with me to see if you're a good fit. So this is out and out CTA, call to action. This isn't value-driven posts. This is just, hey, here's the thing, do you want it? Really simple, really straightforward. Are you ready to take that step? All of this stuff that we've done so far essentially has brought that person to that place of being ready to make that purchase. And now we're about to tip them over the edge. Now we're about to say, hey, ready to take that step? Here it is. So we are presenting our solution and we're inviting them to take us up on that solution, to buy our product, to buy our service, to buy our course, to buy our coaching. And so it's important that you don't forget to ask. So don't get busy creating all of this content without having ask in the mix, because if we don't ask, you don't get, right? Ask and you will receive. So it's important that the ask is part of the process, not just as CTAs in the posts, but also direct asks. Hey, just launched a new lead magnet. Here it is. New course now available. Go and buy it, right? These are silly examples that I'm giving you just to paint the picture of the direct call to action type post. So book a session with me, apply to work with me as a coach. Here's a new ebook that I've just launched. Go and check it out. Sign up to the waitlist for my new program that's launching next month. And these are examples of direct calls to action that you include in the mix of your content with intent strategy. The calls to action can be varied, and they should be. So not all call to actions are book my coaching, book my coaching, book my coaching. Think about the entire value ladder of offers that you have. So typically you will have low, mid, high ticket offers, and you'll have free content. So your call to actions can span the whole spectrum of free content. Hey, lead magnet. Hey, ebook. Hey, challenge. Hey, quiz. These are direct call to actions to all of the free content that you have, direct call to actions to low ticket, direct call to actions to mid ticket, direct call to actions to your high ticket. So there's a plethora of CTA content posts you can create aimed at sending people in to your world in one form or another to get them to take that all important action to becoming a paying client. So this is the stuff that asks for the sale, essentially, right? Asks for the action that's going to tip them over the edge, make them into a paying client for you. Don't forget to include this in the mix. It's a really important part of creating content with intent and just driving that, all of that powerful work that you've done so far, turning that into a sale, into a client whose life you can transform, whose circumstances you can change for the better.